About all the hot things going on out in Powhatan.
I think things are going very well in Powhatan. Our business community is primarily made up of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs by their very nature, I think, are resilient and adventuresome, and those are two traits that will really serve you well coming out of a pandemic. And I think that that's what businesses are embracing. New ways to do business, like Danielle said, moving in to new spaces, filling up spaces they put a toe in, the willingness to learn and expand and pivot has gotten them through, and will see them into the future.
Let's talk about the rural part of the world. A lot of times we always hear about, the entrepreneurs, all those things. Can you talk a little bit about the rural community, whether it's farming or the areas that people don't necessarily think of if you're not in that world? We're thinking of Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield, and those areas. When we get a little further out, let's talk about what that means to those people out there.
Right. Well, Powhatan is very much like parts of Chesterfield and Henrico. I think sometimes people think that Henrico is the West End and Chesterfield's Midlothian, and that Powhatan is like,
yes, ma'am. Yes, that is correct. I just said that to John Brandt. I'm like, he said, "Go west, young man." He said, "Go ahead out there."
Right. So Powhatan's not as far away as you think it is, and we're not as rural as you think we are.
Okay.
There, west of 522 is a pretty rural environment, but really Powhatan has not been truly rural by definition for many, 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 many years. Disappearing farmland, what to do with large tracts, that's a land use discussion for another day. But business is thriving in Powhatan. There are a lot of services that we offer. The last time I checked, it was over 70%. It was nearly 75% of every resident in Powhatan leaves the county during the day to go to work.
Wow.
Now, that's an old figure. I'm not 100% sure what it is today, but I'm sure it's somewhere around there. And Powhatan has a lot of buying potential that gets overlooked. We spend tax dollars and outside of the county. We spend tax dollars inside of the county. But when the majority of your population leaves every day to go to work, I think it's incumbent on us to try to keep those dollars within our county and within our own businesses. So we want to expand business in Powhatan County, of course. We'd much rather you come shop in Powhatan than outside. So, yeah.
All righty. So Frank, you're not an actual chamber, plus you have your hand with the Chesterfield Chamber as well. Let's talk about the Midlothian Business Alliance.
Sure. So I like to call the Midlothian Business Alliance a microcosm of the Chesterfield Chamber. I'll say we model after the chamber. We don't steal ideas, but we're just laser focused on the Midlothian district, specifically the Midlothian Turnpike corridor from the city of Richmond to Powhatan, trying to be representative of the business community in that footprint.
What has changed coming out of COVID that you saw before COVID showed up?
Probably too much to list. I'll say one of my favorite mottos is to continually look to disrupt yourself before an outside force disrupts you. So I would say businesses and individuals both, if you were able to keep that lens, then you were able to weather the storm. They say change is the only constant. So I feel like my favorite analogy would be you're going on a trip, you're driving, and there's an ice storm. You know your destination, but if you get hit with icy conditions and you start spinning out, if you insist that you're going to stay the course and fight against the spin out, you're going to be finding yourself in worse trouble. But if you embrace the ice and you lean into it, then you will find yourself getting to your destination because you're able to adapt to the conditions that made you slightly change your course to get back on course.
Brian Anderson and